All right, so I want to share this with y'all. I seen a post and it said to forgive people as quick as you want God to forgive you. And when I read that, man, that hit. That was a reminder, y'all, that let's seek understanding versus being understood. As y'all hear me say every time I come on here, I know sometimes we can be dealing with difficult people. We may not understand some of the choices they may make, but really just focus on the things that you can control. And what you can control is you. You can't control other people. You can't control their outcome. You can't control how they react or respond to you. You can't control any of that. So, have mercy on people. We got to understand that, some people, like if they manipulators and liars and stuff like that, we got to understand that some of those people been like that all their life. And some of them actually feel like, there's no other way. They feel like they're in a prison, that they got to manipulate, they got to lie in order to get what they want, because they're not fully trusting on the Lord, if you ask me. But, let's just have grace for people, seek understanding versus being understood. I get some people that come to me and they might look at me more as a people pleaser. But I don't look at myself as a people pleaser. I look at myself as someone that's extending grace to people. And I don't feel like you got to always come down on people and get up in people's face and, tell them about themselves. I don't feel like you got to do all of that. The reason why, you got different people for different things, But if you're not that kind of person, you're not that kind of person. The reason why, me personally, I don't know if some of y'all can attest to this or if some of y'all can agree with this, but the reason why me personally, where I, extend grace or, I don't just blow down, I don't just say anything to people. The reason why is because I have found myself in positions before where I have actually been wrong. Now, have you ever found yourself where you've been wrong before? Now when you approach people or you approach situations, you want to look at it from a godly standpoint. You want to take it up with the Lord first, because sometimes, it ain't the other person. Sometimes it's us. So since I know that sometimes it could be me, I choose not to point fingers at other people. Now, after I did my assessment on me and then it come down to the point where it's you, then now, it's a different story. But, that's what I be talking about when I say seek understanding versus being understood. Just a quick example of what I'm trying to share with y'all. I remember when I was younger, I was starting my investments. I was starting to save money, and I was starting with like $25 a month, y'all, right? So the person who was trying to me around that time, they said, hey, I had been saying I was going to start my investments, but I didn't start it yet. So they are the investor. So they was like, hey, you plan on, you want to start your, investments today? So I was like, I looked at, this person. I'm like, why you pressuring me about starting my savings? I'll start my savings when I want to. I'm looking at this person like, I'm starting with $25 a month. I'm like, what, you just trying to get paid off of what I do? That's what I said to this person, y'all. This person looked at me and they was like, what? They was like, I only get paid like 2 cents off you investing $25. I was like, oh, okay. So even then I didn't receive it. Not until around that time where I got my investment license and I started investing people's money, I realized he ain't even get paid 2 cents off my $25 I invested. See, that's the point where I'm just using an example where I was wrong. So I'm not always being hard on myself, or I'm not always trying to, be a people pleaser or anything, but it's just that, sometimes we got to stop and we got to think about things, because we can be wrong too. And I have found myself in situations where I was actually wrong, okay? And we all have been wrong, because none of us are perfect. So my point in sharing that example with you is, people don't see the world as it is. They see the world as they are. Or they see the world as what they grew up around, their environment and stuff. So sometimes if you that kind of person that's looking over your shoulders all the time and you thinking, somebody playing games all the time, you're going to look at every scenario that way. You're going to be untrusting, because that example I just gave y'all, this person ain't get paid hardly nothing off that $25 I was investing. But yet I took it as, oh, you just want me to invest money with you because you trying to get paid. You see what I'm saying? And that's how we treat a lot of, entrepreneurs too, y'all. Especially, people with our skin color. We get them a hard time. We always say, oh, they just trying to get paid, this, and that. If they are just trying to get paid, so what? If it's a quality product and they doing their job right, then, so what? You're going to spend the money anyways. If it's a service that you want it anyways, go ahead and do business with them. Why not? What is the hang up? Why not? Why are you so mad about this other person making money off of you. You know, even when I was in the recruiting business, you know, it used to blow my mind, y'all. It used to blow my mind on when I would recruit individuals and they be like, well, you're going to be making money off of me. I'm like, and I'm also about to train you. I'm also about to pour in the knowledge, and I'm going to give you a skill that you could take with you for a lifetime. I'm also about to coach you to greatness. So yeah, when you do something, yeah, I'm going to get paid. You got a problem with me getting paid? And then, you know, you got to bring down the example where they're like, oh, it's the pyramid scheme. Well, isn't your job a pyramid too? Don't you got people that's working at the bottom, the employees? Then don't you got the supervisors? Then don't you got the managers? Then don't you got the executive managers? And then don't you got the CEO? Ain't it only one person at the top on the job too? You see, but it's just our conditioning, y'all. It's our conditioning. And that's where I say, well, we got to seek understanding versus being understood. So I didn't blow out on them like I just did in this example. But my point of saying this is, you know, sometimes people just need you to help them with their thinking and the paradigm shift and just seeing things from a different perspective. And, you know, you can't even take it as an offense. You know, even when I used to get that, when somebody be like, well, you about to get paid off of me, I didn't even take that as an offense because that's just an objection. And the objection is for me to respond and help them understand what it is I'm working on, what it is we're doing, what it is you just signed up for. You see what I'm saying? So anyways, I hope this made sense, y'all. I'm starting to sweat. It's kind of warm out here. I hope that made sense, y'all. I just wanted to, you know, share some encouragement, just get on here and talk with y'all for a minute. The reason why, you know, I get on here and I talk to y'all a lot about people and relationships and things of that nature, because those are the things that impacts us the most. Relationships, all right? Even if you meet somebody and, you know, if they start doing better in life or they start doing worse in life, you always got to look and say, who stepped into this person's life? And I got that from Sarah Jake's husband. I can't think of his name, but I got that from him when he was talking about relationships one time. You always got to look and say, who stepped in that person's life? That's why I'm always stressing on, you know, being around the right kind of people, because if you're around people, that energy is going to eventually rub off on you. It's just the reality, okay? So you want to stay around the right kind of people. And, you know, sometimes I meet people, and I want to share this with y'all, because I get some people that won't go after their goals and dreams of what they want to do because they be like, well, I don't like people. Y'all ever talk to somebody like that before? Be like, I don't like people. Now, when they say they don't like people, really, you know, that's just a defense mechanism. It might be, you know, they ain't got hurt so many times. You know, they might be thinking like people not gonna buy. They might be thinking people might, you know, talk about them. They might not even want to go through the persecution that comes with it sometimes, or they don't want to go through, you know, falling out with some people because, you know, everybody who you expect gonna support you is not gonna support you. You already know. So when they say they don't like people, you know, they let that hold them back. But this is what you got to understand. One thing for sure, we always dealing with people. People are everywhere. And it's the way you look at the situation. Now, from Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, a book I read some years ago, and I go back and I reference to it every now and then. But one of the main quotes I got out of that book was, anytime you're around people, you're around opportunity. You gotta understand that, y'all. I don't care what kind of business you're doing. You're always in business. It's anytime you're around people, you're around opportunity, y'all. I'm telling you. And it ain't who you know, it's also who they know. And then it's also who they know who know who knew. If y'all get what I'm saying, they look like I just did another language right there. But I'm just trying to stress to everybody that you can't let your hang up with people stop you, all right? A lot of times, even when we dealing with people, even if you was to get into a relationship, you start to learn stuff about yourself that you didn't know about yourself. It's not always the other person. It's always within a lot of times, all right? It's always within. As soon as we master those emotions and those insecurities and, you know, those things that's within, as soon as we master those, you know, we on to the next level. But as you know, when you serve the Lord, there's no ending. There's no ending. He's infinity. All right. So, you know, it's always new lessons to learn. It's always new heights to go. And the most we can do is embrace it, love on people, because we are commanded by God to love one another. We are commanded. So, and that's another thing before I get ready to wind off of here. Do not let anybody get you bitter to the point where it can separate you from the love of God. You can't afford it, y'all. If you understand I ain't gonna get into the spiritual stuff, because this ain't one of those spiritual channels. But if you understand how this can separate you from the love of God, and how bitterness puts you in bondage, and how bitterness can make you sick, and other things to start manifesting on your body, all because you holding in a root of bitterness. Anytime you feel like a root of bitterness is trying to come among you, you got to rebuke it in the name of Jesus. I'm telling you, you got to rebuke it. Okay, you got to fight hard. I don't know what all you got to do. If you got to get on your knees, you got to tarry for it. You got to watch some comedy or something. You cannot let the root of bitterness rest in your body, rest in your soul, rest in your mind, your will, your body, or your emotions. You cannot let the root of bitterness get there. Okay, y'all, you gotta combat that. You got to. Okay, so yes, y'all, as y'all can see, I got on my Avon top. All right, it's a black top, but it's Avon, so go ahead, it'll be in the description below. You can go and shop Gems of Beauty. That's my storefront name, by Avon. Now this month here, we in campaign 5. We actually got some skincare products out, and they got high quality skincare products with reasonable prices too. That's what I'm excited about. And also, I want to thank everybody who's been shopping online. I appreciate you so much. You are noticed. All right, and also go ahead, look at some of the sales we got on there. And if you would love to be a Avon ambassador, of course I would love to have you on the team, y'all. But in the meantime, y'all, I hope y'all are having a great and amazing day. I hope this message encouraged somebody, gave you patience and love and kindness, especially with your brothers and your sisters out here, because we in some times today, y'all. Okay, but in the meantime, y'all, hope y'all having a great day. And of course, y'all know I will see y'all in the next video. Okay.